Thanks for tuning in to Becoming Something, where we promise to keep the conversation honest and real for young adults in their 20s and 30s. Every moment we live is training for a future moment, and that's why we do this podcast, because we want you to be prepared for everything that life is going to throw at you. Our hope with this podcast is that it would help you become all that God desires you to be. So with that in mind, let's jump right in to this week's episode of Becoming Something. What's up, podcast world? It's your boy Nate in the podcast studio all by myself, because right before we get to this episode, I wanted to share with you something that is really, really exciting. We were just notified that we were nominated for Podcast of the Year through the K-Love Fan Awards, and we would love for you to go there right now. Go to KLoveFanAwards.com and vote for Becoming Something for the podcast that made the biggest impact in this past year. Hey, it's a huge honor to just be nominated. This is a national award, and K-Love has honored us with just being nominated, but it'd be really, really fun to win. It'd be fun to have the trophy right here in the studio, and we just want you to take part in acknowledging what God has done through the podcast. So would you go there right now, KLoveFanAwards.com, vote, and we will find out at the end of this month of May 2025 whether or not we have won. But regardless, we're just so thankful for you and for you listening. Because of your listening and you sharing the podcast, that's allowed the podcast to grow and why we're even nominated for this award. So thank you for being a part of what God has done with this podcast. But let's get to the podcast right now and check out this week's episode.
What's up, podcast world? It's your boy JP on stage, not in the podcast studio, because we're at Beso Live with these guys. Nate's here, Kathy's here.
Yeah, we are.
What's your name? Melissa's here. What's your name? What is it?
He said Ben.
Marshall and Ben?
Ben.
Marshall and Ben are here. What's your
Did I
name?
see a sign back here?
What is it?
I think we need
Anika's here.
Celebrating our first
Celebrating
wedding
first
anniversary.
wedding anniversary, Beso
Give it
Live.
up for the lovebirds.
That's
Some people go to Mexico for their anniversary.
Okay.
You guys
So
come to Beso Live.
they're celebrating their 1-year wedding anniversary today.
Oh.
Who wants to celebrate their 1-year wedding anniversary next year at this time? Yeah.
proposal.
Let's go.
Do it.
Hey, there's actually a marriage taking place next month. Your marriage? You met last year at Beso Live.
That's right.
Wild.
Wow.
It's what we
can't
do,
make
guys.
This stuff up, so just no pressure. But you could be sitting next to
what
your
we
future
do.
spouse.
Crazy.
I love it.
I love love.
Man.
This is good. Way to go, guys. Just
You hear that buzz? That's the buzz of hope in the
There-
room.
we just built
The
their
banter
hopes
of
up.
hope.
Oh my gosh.
Well, listen, we'll do a wedding tomorrow if y'all want. I mean,
Well,
no.
the bummer is you do have to get the what's the you buy the
$71
invitation thing, or yeah, what is it?
the
The
marriage
license.
license.
Marriage license, yeah.
$71. That's all you need.
Or you can just sign up for
Shay,
qualified.
show
date.
me
works
that
too.
in the Bible, Nate.
I guess,
Show
yeah.
me marriage
We're married
license in
before
the Bible.
God. It's fine.
Oh,
we can live together.
goodness. No, that's not good. No.
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 I just gotta try
Hey,
before I buy it.
timestamp that so we can cut it out.
What is
If anyone
No,
remembers
it was, oh, I can't
No,
even
you don't even say it.
I
Yeah,
can't even
don't even
say
say
Let's
it.
not say that again.
It's though it's in my story. If you
I know.
want a
I'm like, it was
flashback.
hidden, and then you posted it for 220,000 people to see.
That's because you sent it to me.
I
And said,
know, and
and
I
said, hey, will you
know.
please post
Rookie
this?
mistake.
Make sure you tag me.
Exactly. N8 Hilgen Camp. I'm trying to get to 13,000. Okay, we got to get to the
Tens
question.
and
All right, what's
Well,
the
okay,
question?
the question changed. Should we go from the?
You go with everyone
we
you
don't
think.
know.
Okay.
We don't know.
Okay, so the number 2 most voted question as of right now, this moment, it could change at any moment, but number 2 is, do you think Jesus would flip tables in today's American church?
Spicy. Don't, please.
You just taught on this passage, did you?
I did just teach on it. Yeah, I did. It's in the Bible.
People like People come here like they
It was
visit
a
Harris
great
Creek.
message.
Every time I
and
preach.
he teaches, and they're like, "Whoa,
He's saved.
he's not dumb."
Guys,
He's
he's
what,
really
saying
smart.
that-
Some
He
people
does
at the
love
net last
God.
night, they came here. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you guys, they're like, hey, you have good things to say. You should speak up more. I'm
Yeah.
like, I know I do. That sermon was awesome
No,
last
from
night.
the-
Here,
from
we
the
gotta
Lord.
get Adley out
Lord.
here at some point.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I was just trying to remind him it comes from the Lord.
Oh yeah.
Humility.
We got to get Adley out here
Pride
sometime
comes
because
before the fall.
Nate has the best wife, and she is at the net all the time, and so he teaches.
Shout out to
That's the young
Adley.
adult
Every
ministry
Thursday
here.
night. If you are thinking about moving to Waco to be a part of a young adult ministry, this is me telling you, you are invited. We'd love to have you every
I thought
Thursday
you were
night.
about to
7 p.m.
say, this is me telling you that the Lord wants you to
Oh
move to
no,
Waco.
I was
And
like,
I was like,
I thought you were
that's
too. It was like, hey, if you're looking
You
for a
should.
sign, here is your sign from
right.
God.
Okay, so what's Jesus doing in that passage? I don't even, what's the question mean? Would Jesus flip over tables in today's American church? We're selling shirts out there. Is that
That does make me
bad?
nervy.
Yeah, I mean, I told Joe Daly, I was like, don't you take your journals
Take
and
your
take
daily
get 'em
goods,
somewhere
get
out
out of here. Yeah.
No. Okay, so what's happening in that passage? I mean, you literally
do it.
I'll
looked at
take
Give us
it.
the
more
recap.
recent than I have.
Oh.
But they're money changers, and so it's like a foreign exchange rate. If you go, like our family, we're going to go overseas this summer, and we'll exchange $1 for that currency. Well, there was a specific currency within the temple that you could use, and they
Half a shekel.
What'd you say?
It's a half shekel. It's a temple tax.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Wow, who knows their Bible better? Fight.
It's in the Bible. They were actually supposed to, any male over like 25 was supposed to go into the temple, pay a half a shekel. But they didn't have shekels because they were using Roman coins.
What
So-
were they paying for?
Well, the temple to like upkeep.
Okay.
It was like tithes.
Yeah.
Tithes.
Yeah, and this was in the Bible. Like it's
But wasn't
it's
it like for
commanded
their
from God.
sacrifice?
What?
For their sacrifice.
No.
Their animals?
There was money changers,
You're
and then they were also she did not listen to the message.
Bible.
Anyway, so there's the exchange thing, and they charged them like 10 times more than what it was actually worth. So rather than
But
just
they had to have an animal for the sacrifice, and some
listen,
people didn't travel
listen,
with their
we're getting
animals.
there.
Well,
There's
you're
the
saying that I'm not
there's the money
Bible.
changers,
What's in
and
the
then there's
Bible
these
too?
sheep that are going bah, and then doves. I don't know what they say.
Yes. Dumb.
Yeah. And then they're also selling those for like 20 times more expensive. Now, people have come from all over the world, and they did not travel with their cow. They did not travel with their dove. It's hard to keep a dove on a string
I knew you were gonna
with
say
you to
that.
the temple.
So all
they
that
charge
to
them
say,
a bunch more.
it wouldn't be relevant to selling a like church merch, for example, or having a bookstore. Some people will take this passage and they'll say, hey, I'm not going to go to your church because you have a bookstore. We actually don't. But a lot of churches have bookstores. And I don't think that them having a bookstore is in violation to that passage. A lot of times you have somebody new to the faith, they're reading the Bible, they're looking to be angsty toward the church, and they're like, nuh-uh, no way, not gonna go there. And what it would be more applicable to is like the televangelist, I'm not saying all of them, but the one that is like, hey, buy this, for this much money, and you're gonna receive a 10 times blessing. This is a holy handkerchief, and if you get this handkerchief, what's going to happen is there's going to be a threefold blessing on your home. This happens all the time, and I think that passage is much more relevant to this. I was just with a missionary from Rwanda this past week, and we were talking about the spiritual climate there in the parts of Africa, Rwanda, Burundi, Zambia, and he was saying it's really difficult because they just watch your preachers on TV. And I said, who do they watch? And he told me the specific person that they watch.
They got to get me on TV more.
Yeah, exactly. And just the way that they're really believing in the prosperity gospel. And what these impoverished Africans are doing is they're tithing to these very wealthy American preachers in hopes that they're going to receive 100, 200-fold blessing. Now, here's what I want you to know. This is something that I've learned along the way. Those guys, I used to think those guys are like, like they're in the back room, like, like we got them right where they're. I think they actually believe that. I think they were discipled into a false doctrine by false teachers. And that what happens is discipleship, false teachers learn from false teachers and become false teachers. And so they teach this really poisonous message of health, wealth, and prosperity. And I think that would be what is near the heart of God as far as flipping the tables.
Yeah, and there's another part of it that I found really interesting. So there's two parts of the temple. There's the Gentile courts, which would be like for us, unless you're a Jewish believer in Jesus here, like the Gentile courts would be on the outside, and the Jewish courts would be on the inside. So if you're a Jewish believer, you're kind of like the in crowd. If you're a Gentile believer, you're out here. Now the Gentile courts was where the buying and selling was taking place, which was where all the animals were. Now the Gentile courts were where the Gentiles would go to pray. They couldn't really focus on prayer because the animals were mooing and tweeting and whatever else they were doing. And really the religious leaders were like, we don't really care about you guys, get out of here. And they're showing favoritism towards the Jewish people, the Jewish believers. And one of the interesting things that you did when you got here is you're like, I just want you guys to know, I'm never gonna know what anyone here gives because I don't wanna show favoritism to anybody. I don't wanna know who's our biggest giver or our lowest giver because I just wanna treat everyone the same.
So what are some things that you guys think if Jesus were to walk in here or to any typical American church, what are the things that would make him throw some tables over? We don't have the same money-changing, whatever, favoritism in that way, but like, what are the issues that like we're thinking about incorrectly?
Okay, so out there, you were praying about this earlier. So we have like a cutout of our faces out there, which is.
Yeah, that he might flip that
I
over.
know.
I'll be honest.
You're like, Lord,
I didn't know
please.
about that till I got here.
I know you did that.
I hope y'all
You're like, Lord,
understand.
please let
It's
this
a
be about
big
you
joke.
and not about us. He could come in here and be like, Nate, what in the world was that? Like, that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Or he's like, that's funny.
Yeah.
Really a toss-up.
I hope it's that.
Well, who knows? Who's to say?
All right. Here's what I want to do. I'm dead serious. I want you to think about it. I want you to, not yet, I want you to raise your hand if you think he would think it's funny, or I want you to raise your hand if you think that he would be frustrated by that. Okay, everybody got it? I want you to lock in your answer, and we'll go. I tell you what, we'll do the raised hands because I think that's easier. Okay, you got it?
This is gonna hurt my feelings. We spend money on it.
Now you're swaying the vote.
No, I'm fine.
Okay, don't be afraid to hurt Nate's feelings if that's where you land. Okay, you ready? Okay.
Are you voting?
I have a thought.
What? What'd you say?
I have a thought, but let's vote.
Okay. I want you to raise your hand if you think Jesus would think that's funny.
Oh, my people. We'll go hang out after.
Okay.
Let's go get ice cream.
Okay. I want you to raise your hand, put them down. I want you to raise your hand if you think
Boldly.
Jesus would be offended.
Wow, Nate, you hurt all these people's feelings.
Okay, I want you to raise your hand if you didn't vote.
There was a lot, yeah.
Well, that was what I was thinking.
Yeah, what's
is
the
I
motive?
feel like Jesus, he supernaturally like knows motive.
Some brilliant
there.
Beso listener just asked, what's the motive? Which I think it is. It comes down to a matter of the heart. But I think it's like a challenge. Like we really, this is so ironic. We really wrestle with this because it's like we genuinely love you guys. And I genuinely want to have, like, I want to hear all of your stories. Like, I want to hear how you came to faith. I want to hear about your family of origin. I want to hear about your biggest struggles. I want to help. And I think the nature of, when you start, putting a microphone on your face, writing books, speaking places, is like people line up to talk to you. And there's a part of that that's honoring, and there's a part of that that is soul crushing, and in the best way, meaning like it's like you enjoy it all while your soul was not made for glory. It has to be offloaded onto the sturdy shelf of Jesus Christ, and I can't parse out which is what, and so sometimes that makes me uncomfortable. Not in that you do it at all, in that I love it. Okay, it's not uncomfortable that you do it. If we see each other, if I'm visiting your city, we're in the airport, we go somewhere, like, please come up and let's talk and let's take a picture and all the things. Like, it's, if that is meaningful to you, I'm encouraged that I would be an encouragement to anyone. And we have to constantly parse out our motives, which can be exhausting, honestly.
And I'll just speak for myself. Sometimes my motive is mixed. Do y'all, like,
It's
is that
always
something-
mixed.
Oh,
No, I'm not. I don't saying
softly.
that necessarily in
No.
response to what you said, but I think every motive at all times is always mixed. It's always good and bad at all times.
And that's where I'm like, the enemy would win for you to make everything about yourself and have that ego, but he would win if you were so scared of having a prideful thought that you never went and did another Unite or another speaking at some campus engagement or whatever. So I think for anyone, it's like, all right, my motive might be mixed, but I'm called to be faithful, so I'm going to confess the bad motive. I'm going to confess the sin. I'm going to give it to God, and I'm going to trust that he can make much from my fishes and my loaves and my flawed self.
Let's just say you go to a mission trip in Rwanda, and there's 6 orphans behind you, and you take the picture, hashtag mission trip to Rwanda, and you post it on Instagram. And your heart is, well, I want to raise awareness for these orphans. I want people to give to this ministry. I want my friends and family to celebrate where I'm at. I want those that gave to this mission to understand what I'm doing. And I want people to think I'm a saint. And I want people to be envious of where I'm at. All of that sits in the pot. It's all there. The good, it's never only good, and probably rarely only bad. And so then the person sees it, the Christian sees it, and they go, oh man, she just is trying to show the whole world that she's there. That person's in as just much sin as you would be in by doing that. And that's what you don't realize is your heart, it turns cynical and critical and calloused and hard. And you don't understand that you've drifted toward being a Pharisee, that you can no longer enjoy God. Because spiritual maturity is not just knowledge of God. It's not even just love for God. It's also the enjoyment of God. And so sometimes, like, brand new baby believers are more spiritually mature than seminary professors who aren't even saved. It's crazy because they enjoy God.
And that makes me think of your sermon, Nate, because I feel like at the end you gave us time to not think about the big picture. What are the tables that Jesus would flip in other people's lives?
Oh, that's right.
Because I think
Forgot.
as sinful people, we tend to judge. We tend to look at other people. We assume negative motives. We're jealous. We're not on the trip, whatever. Like we said, we can't determine motives. So then we're cynical, we're judgmental. You asked us, don't think about other people's tables that Jesus needs to flip. What is
You want
the
to know
table
why?
that
He
Jesus
went
needs
into the
to flip in
temple
your
and
heart?
flipped tables. There's a temple. It ain't in Jerusalem. It's in that seat. And he wants to come into your life, and he wants to flip over some tables. Come on. Yeah.
I'm going to flip you over. But I was just saying, great sermon. Little mini sermon. Good job. It is a thing we need to wrestle with. Like, why focus so much on the church or this group or what they're doing? God, every day, what do you need to flip over in my life? Where am I making this about me and not you? Show me.
I do think we have to do a better job of drawing a circle around ourselves and changing everything inside, or asking the Holy Spirit to change everything inside and stop focusing so much on everyone else. And this is what he says. He's like, you're trying to pluck out the splinter in your neighbor's eye when you're walking around with the 2x4 in yours. And so, I don't think it's just the merchants in the church that Jesus would be angry at. I don't even think he'd care, honestly, if your church has a bookstore that's seeking to provide resources that point people back to him. I think he'd be pleased with that. Now, I think if there was usury and like they were overpriced or it wasn't fair, or you were saying, hey, this is the only place you can buy this book, and when you start speaking toward exclusivity, then I think you're in James 2 sin. When I got here, somebody said, hey, there's this family, they're coming to Waco. Can you greet them at the door and help them find a seat? And I said, hey, what if you did that? And they just said, I think it'd be really good if you or someone from staff did that. And I said, hey, I'm happy to ask staff, but we don't typically do that. And he goes, hey, look, let me level with you. This family, they're going to give they're trying to find a church, and they're going to give a ton of money to whatever church they land in. You just need to know that. And I said, okay, here's what that means for me. I for sure cannot meet them at the door. And I said, I would be in sin if I did. And he goes, what do you mean? And I just sent him James 2. And he was like, oh gosh, I've never read that before. And I'm like, yeah, there's a reason that's in there. Is like the church has to be this place. I mean, I've talked to pastors of other denominations where they take the biggest givers on trips. And it's just like, some of these seem like healthy churches. And I'm like really surprised by that practice. I don't see that in the New Testament. Man, you know what? We just started a building campaign of sorts because we by the grace of God, we've outgrown this space.
And I would say,
Don't
my
say it.
preaching.
Don't say it.
It's unbelievable.
Do you realize what we've been talking about the past few
It's
minutes?
unbelievable. Yeah.
Dang.
And so, so somebody wrote in. The church doesn't even know. I haven't shared this with the church yet. You guys are the first to hear this. Y'all don't even know this. Somebody wrote in.
I bet it's
and
bad.
gave us, huh?
I bet it's bad,
No,
but
he's
I'm
smiling.
interested.
No, they gave us. They wrote a letter, and they signed it anonymous. And they said, I've been a really bad steward of God's resources. We talked about stewardship in the last episode. They said, I've been a really bad steward of God's resources. So I don't have much to give, but my life has been changed there. And I've collected these 72 $2 bills through the years. And I want you to have them. And they put 72 $2 bills in the giving plates back there. And I was just like, is that not a modern day widow's mite?
Totally.
It's like, it's unbelievable.
Totally.
So y'all are looking at me like I got something to say. So I'll say something. In reading about that story, Jesus, anytime he got that angry, he was mostly, actually I think every time Jesus was angry, it was directed at the Pharisees. Is that true or false?
There was that
Sounds
whole
pretty good.
Syrophoenician woman.
He wasn't angry at her. Okay.
He was like, give the dogs what belongs to God.
No,
I don't know if he
that's
was
not how
like,
it went. I was there, I know. But
hey, hi, friend.
hi, doc. Okay. His issue with the Pharisees was hypocrisy, right? And so I just think like anytime we want to look at someone else, we want to cast judgment, we need to be checking ourselves because that is what riled Jesus up. That's where his frustration was, especially the people who should know better but don't, which I think a lot of us in this room might fall in that category. Like you're here, you're at a Christian event, hopefully you're spending time with Jesus, you know him, we are to represent him. We don't want to represent him hypocritically. Does that mean we can do that perfectly? For sure, no. So we do it like with flaws, faithfully by praying and confessing our sins along the way. But yeah, I don't want to be a hypocrite, and I am one.
Everybody thinks so.
Anything that oh my gosh. Anything specifically
It's
about
the
Harris
fact that
Creek?
everyone was nodding with me, like there's this moment, we're all sharing, and you kind of nodded too. It's like, okay, yeah, we are. And then you're like, yeah.
That you're like, man, I feel like the Holy Spirit is asking us as a church to change more in this direction. Like we are this, and we need to be more like something else.
Yeah, I think just the consumeristic mindset of Christianity. Like there's just something consumeristic in all of our hearts that you have to. And what I'm about to say will be incredibly forgettable because I really think the enemy wants to take it from us. But all of us really choose a church based on preferences. And I think so often our preferences rob us of paradise. Any church, if you go to the greatest church with the greatest preaching and the greatest worship, there's going to be a point where you're like, man, I just feel spiritually stagnant. I don't know that I'm really getting anything out of it. I'm thinking about going somewhere else. And I'm just telling you that it's not the church's problem. It's our heart's problem. And I'm not even saying it's you, it's all of us. Like we all have the sinful condition And the same thing's going to happen when you get married. You're going to get married, and you could choose anybody in all of the world, okay, of the opposite sex, and you find someone, you say, I love you so much, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, and you're going to get about 7 years in, and you're going to be like, it's not going to be like, am I attracted to you? You're going to be like, I don't even know if I can tolerate being in the same room as you, right? And at that point, you've got to push through the way you feel, you know, and your preference is to say, I'm going to love you and I'm going to stay committed to you regardless. Now, I know choosing a church is not marriage, but there's a reason that we say like a covenanted member. It's also not a country club. And so while it's less than marriage, it's more than a country club. And we belong there, and we're a part of it, and we're under the authority of the elders there. And so if you're here and you're not a member of a church, like that's the one thing, or not the one thing, that's one thing that I would encourage you to go back and change, is like, hey, find a healthy church. It will be imperfect. If you find a perfect church, don't ever go there. If you find a perfect church, don't go there because you'll ruin it. Hey,
that was yeah.
Really, you're gonna steal my punch? Any other punchlines? If you find a perfect church, don't go there, you'll ruin it. Because we're all imperfect people.
Yes.
Right? And so that's why you gotta stay committed to it.
Also, my last thought, Jesus flips the table, and what does he say? Like, my house will be called a house of prayer, but you've made it a den of robbers. So I'm like, man, if there's anything we could do to make our hearts less hypocritical, to make there be less things in our lives that we need to flip tables for, we need to be making our hearts a house of prayer.
Facts.
Man, I was thinking, these people came ready to worship, and one of my biggest frustrations is that we didn't have more, which is a bummer. But anyway, I'm just thinking about that.
Can we have more?
I think I saw some people in the back that like can lead worship. I'm not talking about myself.
Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. Wow. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. He wasn't just putting on the Ritz.
Y'all went really high on that. That
Nice.
was hard for us females.
Hey, guys, thank you for listening. Just to close up that episode, and we will see you next week. We'll see you guys in just a minute.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Becoming Something, where we promise to keep the conversation honest and real for young adults in their 20s and 30s. Every moment we live is training for a future moment, and that's why we do this podcast, because we want you to be prepared for everything that life is going to throw at you. Our hope with this podcast is that it would help you become all that God desires you to be. To find out more, visit becomingsomething.com.